So guys, I've already reviewed this car right here, which is the brand new Tesla Model 3. So that's in a separate video, but in this video I wanted to answer your questions, and as you can tell by the rain, it's not great. The UK really living up to its name with April showers. So I asked you guys on social media if you had any questions, so let's answer them. Oh, it's horrible out there. Jeez. Right, well, yes, let's answer your questions, guys, on the Tesla Model 3. So, as I said, I took to social media to ask if you guys had any questions. So, let's start out with @DavidMartin5099. The way manufacturers are talking EV is out, hydrogen is the way to go. Well, I mean, it's an interesting topic. I mean, I know very little about hydrogen cars. I've heard of them. I've heard a couple of manufacturers make like prototypes of them, but I don't know where you even get hydrogen from, to be honest. So, yeah, I know where charge points are, and there's loads of infrastructure for that. So yeah, infrastructure for that, obviously quite a big thing. I don't know where you get it from, so who knows? We'll have to see. Just watch this space, I guess. And next up we have Alex Dalglish 1061. I'm just going to say this now. I'm really sorry if I ruin anyone's name as I reply to these. But charging speed and time 10 to 80% and distance back down to 10% difference if doing 55 or 70 miles per hour. I would like to do a range test in an EV. They just require like a bit of planning and things like that, because obviously driving in town versus motorway, as you rightly said. So yeah, I would like to do a range test. I sadly haven't had time to do it in this one. But I mean, the charging speed for most EVs is anything from as low as about 20 minutes to 40 minutes on the rapid charging, but it does depend where you get electricity from. So, but yeah, it varies from car to car. But yeah, usually they're around the 30-minute mark on average. But yes, would love to do a long range trip, so I'll have to reach out to Tesla and ask them. Number 3, Tim Chapman 8498. Opinion on the boring interior compared to a Mercedes EQC, something you get used to, build quality in general. Tesla do have a very, very minimalistic interior. As you can see, there's well, there's not much going on. I mean, literally, let me just put this over here for a second. Literally, you have the steering wheel with buttons here, and then of course buttons here and the screen, and then a few storage areas. That's kind of it. Now, I guess I was thinking about this like analogy. I guess you could think of it almost like a desk. Some people prefer like a very minimalistic, clean desk, where some people want all the, things out and things ready to reach and access. It just comes down to user preference. Do you get used to it? Yes, I've been driving this for the past week, and I've reviewed the Model Y very recently as well. And yeah, you do get used to it. And I know my way around screens, and I've kind of almost memorised a lot of the menus on here now. So yeah, I could do a walkthrough guide on this, which some of you may enjoy. But yeah, you do get used to it. Oh yeah, the other thing you mentioned about build quality. Yes, as I mentioned in the review, it's actually really, really surprising how good it is. Because, in like cheaper cars that I've certainly owned years ago, you get that like horrible scratchy kind of plastic material. That's not evident in here at all. I mean, it's all like squidgy leather materials like everywhere. I said the only plastic that you can find is actually on the switches. Even down here on the bottom of the door, it's all leather down there as well. There's a bit of plastic like here, but that's it. I mean, plastic's not a bad thing. The actual build quality of this is really, really, really good, and certainly wouldn't put me off buying one at all. The only thing I could say is, because build quality depends on the type of car that you have owned previously. It depends, what you're after. If you've only had premium German cars like, BMW 7 Series or Mercedes S-Class, and then jump into a less expensive car, you're going to notice those things. So honestly, the only thing I suggest, jump in one of these, take it for a drive, and see how you get on. Let me know. Reply back to me in the comments. Right, let's have a look at the next one. So, UCHEJNR. If you can, do a fairly long trip so that people can rest their nerves regarding long journeys with EVs. Range anxiety does not exist in Tesla, but some still think so. Also, take it to some roundabouts to see if you can conquer the new indicators. Oh, we'll go for a drive in a minute, I'll show you. But in terms of the long trip, as I said, just like the other question, sadly I haven't had time to do a long trip just because I have actually planned this out. I often do scripts and things like that to research for videos before I even pick up the camera. And I have got 2 trips that I would like to do. One involves going almost to the Midlands and back and ending at Supercharger and testing that out. One is as well just kind of going to where there aren't many superchargers. So yeah, I would like to do that, so it would have to be a different video. But yeah, in terms of the indicators, yeah, you do get used to them. We'll go for a drive in a minute, I'll show you. Next one is from GRR Meester. Not very interested as it looks like a jelly mould and would never buy one. The depreciation is horrific and damage anything and the whole vehicle is scrap. Wow. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess kind of what you mean by like jelly mold. A lot of EVs do have this kind of almost like curvature kind of shape to them. They do this on purpose for aerodynamics. I mean, you can literally look at a real good example is actually the Mercedes G-Class that they've just brought out with electric. If you look at the stats on that, it's got decent range, but the battery size in it is massive, and that's because it's literally a square brick. Take another car, the range almost doubles with a similar sort of battery capacity. So the aerodynamics of the car play a huge important factor of it. So that's why you find a lot of EVs do have this kind of like, what you would describe as jelly mold, kind of like slopey roof. In terms of depreciation, I mean, every car depreciates. If anyone tells me that they're buying a car for an investment, unless it's a classic or something like that, which I know very little of, just, yeah, don't do that. Cars depreciate. Depreciation on EVs does happen more, just because if you imagine like EVs 5 years ago, look at the range of them and now look at the range of the ones today, they really have improved quite a lot until EVs level off with their range, but everyone's pushing for more range and better battery tech, so it's going to happen. So that's of course if you buy new. If you're worried about that, just buy used. In terms of damage to anything, I haven't had any experience of that, so I can't really comment on that front, but I mean, I'm sure they're as robust and as reliable as internal combustion engines anyway. After this, we have Sharkflower123, departure and charging planning compared to the e-Golf and other VW products. Well, there is a Tesla app. So actually, kind of looks a bit like this. Now, the Tesla app does allow you to do various different things, from scheduling departures to climate control. Sadly, I don't actually have access to it this time round, but I did have access to it last time, and I think I'm safe to say that pretty much every EV has an app, whether or not it's free for the first couple of years or so due to data costs and things. But yeah, every EV should have an app and it will allow you to schedule it, so it should be fairly easy. I did play around with it on the Model Y that I had, and yeah, it was quite easy. Don't know what that's compared to like with Volkswagen. I'll have to check that out in the future. So next we have Matty Belfast. Why are more manufacturers not building self-charging cars so that we aren't reduced to having to rely on charging points and expensive fees to charge? I presume by self-charging cars you mean like self-charging hybrids. I don't think anyone's made a completely self-charging car, because if they have, they'll just put the whole industry of cars out of a job, like fuel and stuff like that. So self-charging hybrids, of course, they are fundamentally flawed by one thing. They're powered by fuel, and the whole goal is to stop using fuel as such. So take like Toyota, for example. They have self-charging hybrids, and Lexus. The thing is, you still put fuel in them, and the whole goal of like a hybrid, for example, like a plug-in hybrid, is that you don't use fuel. So you source some power from somewhere else, as in electricity, charge it up, and all your local journeys are then done on electric as opposed to fuel. Yes, self-charging cars are very, very convenient because you don't really have to do anything, but in terms of the actual emissions reduced by the engine, it's not enough. Yeah, in terms of moving toward a greener future, EVs are definitely the way to go because they have zero tailpipe emissions because they don't have a tailpipe. And yes, there are loads of other points to that as well, but just oversimplification. On to the next question. How are you finding the lack of stalks for signalling? Right, I think it's time that we go out on the road and show you. So, let's pop this down here. Richard Hughes will show you what it's like. So, Literally foot on the brake pedal in the new Teslas. Oh yeah, you need to put the key card here because I had it in my pocket because I went out to film a couple of bits. So yeah, into drive. And this is obviously the weird thing, is that because there's no stalks, the gears are done on the screen. So yeah, that's the slightly weird thing. But again, it is something you do get used to. So I filmed the review a couple of days ago, and yeah, quite simply, instead of using obviously stalks, there are no stalks. You literally just use the buttons on the steering wheel. And yes, you do get used to it. I'd probably say it takes a few days of driving to get used to it. I did find myself still going to the imaginary stalk to indicate, literally just a couple of days into it, but then towards the end of the week, as in now, I'm just pressing the buttons. I'm not even going for the stalk now. So yeah, easy to get used to. Like for example, up here, I'm going to turn up here, literally just a button. It's easy. And I will add an extra thing on this as well. Tesla do have a very clever system here. So when you go to turn, usually, if you pay close attention to the wheel here, as you turn the steering wheel, usually it would have a click, and then when you straighten it back out, it would go off like that. Now that still kind of does exist in the steering wheel, but they've also got this lane stuff happening as well. So if you're driving down a dual carriageway and you go to lane change, after you've made that lane change, the system knows you've made the lane change and can cancel the indicator for you. That's enabled in one of the settings. It's on by default when I was in this car, but yeah, it's just one thing, saves you having to cancel it. All right, I know what you're thinking, but what about if you've pressed it? How'd you cancel it? Well, just press it again. Just like that, and we'll turn it off. There's no one around here at the moment, so I'll show you again. So on, off, easy peasy. And then same for the wipers. Wipers are literally just over here, so tap that and they'll wipe, tap it again, wipe. Now in Teslas, when you want to adjust your wipers, when you press this, if you look really closely here, that comes up. And then you can adjust it and say, oh, I want to put them on full. And that's on manual now, or put it into auto. There's other shortcuts you can do on the steering wheel as well, but otherwise you just leave them in auto, tap the button when you want to wipe. Then you might be thinking, well, how do you spray your wipers? That is by holding. So if I hold the button, spraying now out of the wiper blades. Now the very next question is regarding infrastructure. So this person asks, main question is around the infrastructure of the charging network for non-Teslas. The charging infrastructure for Teslas is well, it's amazing. It's really, really good. It is the best one I've seen with the integration of a car. Again, I'd like to make a video on this one day in a lot more detail than I'm going to cover here. With a Tesla, you literally just pull up to a supercharger, plug it in, that's it. It automatically knows who you are in the car and will bill your account unless you've got a subscription or some kind of cheaper tariff or anything, but it will bill you, and the money for that transaction of that charge is sorted. It's just all in one roof. However, if you don't have a Tesla, there are many, 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 many charging networks out there. Like literally, if you were to download the app that all of these charging networks require, you'll have at least a couple of pages of apps that all require the own sign up of your email, their own account, their own password, their own payment information. Then they ask for your car details and everything. And it is annoying. It takes you probably about 5 minutes per setup or per visit of a new charging network to set up and register. Now some do offer contactless, which is fine, but then they have the cheek of making it a little bit more expensive. So it's not great. It will get there. So I guess it's just kind of a watch this space. Having said that though, there are lots of infrastructure kind of places popping up. There was one literally just popped up around the corner from where I live, and yeah, that's now the fastest rapid charge point locally, so that's pretty cool. See, still not going for the stalks. Gotten used to it already. I'm going to go pressing buttons on my own car in the wrong place, because that actually has stalks. That's more of a normal car. Right, let's park up, have a look at the next one. And back to where we were. Cool. Right, I did put the wipers on manual there. Let's put that in park. Right, so next question. Joe Cook 2205, build quality of the screen. As it's the only main method to display anything on dash, how durable, well made does it feel? Well, I've not actually really like tried to move it, but yeah, that's not moving anywhere. How is that actually mounted? It's kind of mounted on the back, like with, I'd say, probably about that much across the entire back of it. There's nothing at the top, but that is, I mean, look, that's not going anywhere. That is rock solid in there. In terms of the build quality of that, I mean, yeah, if it was like really plasticky, cheapy stuff and you could creak the back of it, that wouldn't be great. No, that's great. It's, yeah, pressing even the back of it. It's very good. And then after that, we have a suggestion on the infotainment system. So this is Nonomp on Instagram. Make an extended tour of the infotainment system. Yes, I would love to. So I would actually love to make some tutorial guides, tips and tricks for Tesla owners as well, like I have with Mercedes. And don't worry, if you're looking at this video and thinking, I have Mercedes, are you going to stop making Mercedes videos? No. I love cars, guys, so I'm going to make and continue videos, and obviously my daily is Mercedes, so there'll be tips and tricks coming, don't you worry about it. But yeah, I would like to make a tour of this for sure, so yeah, keep an eye out and watch this space. Well guys, there we go. This one was just a little bit different today, so hopefully that answers a few of your questions. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Would you buy a Tesla with this steering wheel here? Because it is different, for sure, it is different, but coming from me, you know, I will say you do get used to it, you know, whether or not you get used to it on the test drive, but you do get used to it a few days later, for sure. I just need to remember to actually use the indicators when I get back in my own car. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed what you saw, and until next time, see you then.